Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Better Together at Science with Shinran Sensei. And today we are going to be discussing the ever cyclical nature of evolution and extinction, right? And how evolution is trying to make as diverse and as efficient and effective life forms as possible to live in certain environments and to occupy certain niches. In paleontology, they call that niche partitioning, where animals will all occupy different niches in order to maximize on the resources of a particular environment. So you'll have a herbivore that is semi-aquatic, and so it will eat some grasses and moss and stuff like that on the land, but then it will also go swimming for a little while and eat seaweed and stuff like that. Like modern day mooses will do that, and hippos as well. You'll have semi aquatic predators that will capitalize on both land and sea fare, right? And so you'll see like the saltwater crocodile will go out to sea for long enough to go catching fish and maybe some sea birds or maybe some turtles and stuff like that. Maybe, baby turtles, because they're obviously the sea turtles out in the ocean are very large and would not be real obvious prey for a saltwater crocodile. But you'll have animals will try to fill every niche that is available to them, and the closer they get to fulfilling every niche and the closer they get to being perfectly niche partitioned, the more likely a mass extinction is going to happen. Okay? So, mass extinctions are when I want to say it's over 50% of life forms in a given environment go extinct, right? And so you have like the land-born animals, more than 50% of species and biodiversity goes extinct. That's considered a mass extinction, right? And same thing in the water. You have more than 50% of waterborne biodiversity goes extinct. That is considered a mass extinction as well. The largest mass extinction that we have on record as far as wiping out biodiversity goes is the Great Dying. Although there is some debate in the paleontological field about the Great Oxidation event being considered a true mass extinction, because it was a mass extinction that almost wiped out single cellular organisms that would have eventually evolved into further forms that we see today, right? And this happened billions of years ago, not just hundreds of millions of years ago. And so the Great Oxidation event is another mass extinction level event, right? Pardon the interruption. Allergies are kind of bothering me. Anyway, so going back to the Great Oxidation event and the Great Dying, right? The Great Dying was the Permian Triassic extinction and wiped out some almost 90% of species in the water, and wiped out the better part of 70 to 75% of life forms on Earth, on the surface of the Earth, right, on the ground. And so a lot of niches were suddenly open. And this is the other flip side to extinction that you don't really hear a lot from, especially people that are trying to cause panic and, moral dilemmas where they want to talk about, oh my God, animals are going extinct, but they never really talk about what that means. And animals going extinct, not only does it happen all the time, it's a continuous process of animals going extinct while other animals fill in their niche. The other thing about a mass extinction, even if we are living in one, is that life tends to explode in diversity after a mass extinction, right? So you'll see animals that you'll never see again and you'll never see before right after mass extinction events. Look at the Triassic period if you want a really good example of how just bizarre life can get. You see Tanystropheus, which is a lizard that its body was only, so big, but then it had a neck that was like 3 times longer than its total body length. And it didn't have like a super long tail to balance it out or anything like that, like sauropods did. It just had a super duper long neck. You had the first pterosaurs, where they were flying lizards with really sharp teeth, and they were only only a little, only little, little animals, but the diversity was there again. And like I said, just look at the end of every single mass extinction event and just look how strange the life forms become, because they're trying to figure out where to go now. And unfortunately, this is a part of evolution as well. Because evolution of species, when the environment hasn't changed enough, or it's changed gradually and slowly enough that the animals that exist in their niches can evolve with the environment, right? They are more prone to extinction events, because all it takes is for that environment to change rapidly, and they will go extinct. They will be rendered extinct. Or it takes the introduction of a new species suddenly for them to go extinct, right? We see this in Australia, very much so right now. We see this in Australia right now, especially. Even more so New Zealand, right? New Zealand only had one native land mammal prior to humans arriving and bringing animals with them, right? And now many of the native animals of New Zealand are extinct because they just can't compete. And that's really what it boils down to when it comes to things like invasive species. There really is no such thing as an invasive species, because life is always trying to spread to its farthest places that it can go. And if the native species aren't capable of competing with non-native species, then they're not going to be able to survive the non-native species invasion. Like, let's look at the fact that camels actually originally evolved in the Americas. Not a lot of people know that. And it was only discovered that camels were native to the Americas in around the 1940s or 50s, when they decided that they were going to try to get accustomed and acclimated to desert warfare after the debacles in North Africa and the Middle East in World War II. They decided that they wanted to be prepared for desert warfare, so they started to get accustomed to, trying to deal with camels, and they brought some camels to the American Southwest, where the deserts of Arizona and Southern California and Nevada and all that are. And the camels would go straight to this cactus with super long spines and just eat the cactus like it was nothing. And the people that were there were absolutely astonished, because this animal is eating, just going straight up to food that it should have no experience with, should have no prior knowledge of, and walking up and eating it like it's not at all worried about what might happen to it. And come to find out, through paleontology and through geology and stuff like that, and through every one of the life sciences that analyzes past life forms, well, come to find out that camels are actually native to the United States area, the North America, South America, and all that. They're native to the Americas. They just emigrated across the land bridge into Asia and Africa, and they eventually just took over Asia and Africa. If that was to happen today, the moral panic would be outrageous. Everybody would be saying camels are invasive species. They're destroying ecologies and environments that are meant for African and Asian animals. But nobody will say that about an animal that's already established itself over millions of years, right? The simple fact of the matter is, there is no such thing as an invasive species, because life is always trying to invade new environments. Life forms, when given the opportunity, will always invade new environments, right? We see this with the monkeys of the New World versus the Old World, right? Monkeys are not native to the Americas. Sure, the species that we have now are incredibly evolved to exist in the Americas, but primates aren't native to the Americas. We didn't have any evidence of primate evolution in the Americas outside of like way back the predecessors of primates during the time of the dinosaurs, there's no evidence to suggest that primates were going to be in the Americas. But then suddenly they are. And how does that come to be? Well, the Atlantic Ocean was already pretty sizable by the time the first primates were evolving in Africa and Asia and Europe as well, right? The first primates start evolving well after the Atlantic is formed. So how did they get to the New World? Well, you basically have to go ahead and assume that there was some major like typhoon or hurricane or something like that struck Africa, Europe, Asia, something, and carried them over to the New World by taking dead trees and stuff like that that they were nested in. And the trees would wash to the New World through the ocean currents and stuff like that. And the animals that survived that journey would obviously take over into the New World, and they would try to survive. And just look at the nature of New World primates versus Old World primates, right? Old World primates, yeah, they tend to get bigger, but they also have features that are a little less advanced than the New World primates. New World primates have prehensile tails. They tend to be smaller, but they also tend to be more vigilant and also more intelligent in some cases. Not in all cases, but in some cases, right? Look at Madagascar, right? Madagascar, once again, there is no lemurs that were just there. They got primates washed there, and then lemurs just exploded from there. So every single time we sit here and we talk about extinctions, we have to take into consideration that extinction is part of, just like death is part of life, extinction is part of evolution and is part of life's journey. So to be afraid of it is, well, I don't really remember who said it, but there was a famous saying that said, "It is a pity to fear the inevitable." And it is truly a pity to fear death or to fear extinction, because they are going to happen. Just a matter of time, right? That's all extinction is a matter of time. And so from this, we could just understand that extinction will always happen. There is no such thing as invasive species, because species are always trying to find new environments to conquer. Just because they're well adapted to a specific environment does not mean they will not take over a new environment if given the opportunity. And in fact, look at Lystrosaurus, right? Lystrosaurus was a very prominent animal in the early Triassic period, right after the Great Dying, and it actually represents 90%. I want to say is what the percentage of fossils that have been found of the period immediately following the Great Dying. Lystrosaurus is 90% of the fossils we've found, because once animals fell out of their niches, another animal that at the time it was the megacontinent Pangea, right? Another animal came in, saw all these open niches, and took over. And that's what life is trying to do at all times, okay? We just don't like being uncomfortable. We don't like, just like with the climate, we don't like that animals that we are comfortable in knowing aren't going to be there forever. And so we're trying to artificially support a homeostasis on life and evolution that cannot be. We are going to force that extinction by trying to force life to stay the same all the time. So at the end of the day, extinction has to happen for evolution to happen, and evolution has to happen, has to slow down for extinction to happen, right? At the end of the day, extinction is necessary for evolution, and evolution is necessary for extinctions to happen as well. Death is an inevitable part of life, and extinction is an inevitable part of evolution and life's journey. We can't fight it, but we can at least try to understand it. And the more you fear it, and the more you try to fight it, the worse it's going to be when it happens, right? But that concludes today and our discussion on extinction and evolution. If you guys have any comments, please please leave it in the comment section. I look forward to the conversation that this might start, and I also look forward to any questions that you might have about extinction and evolution and stuff like that. And I will cover anything that you guys want me to. If you just leave it in the comment section, I will get back to you. I read every comment that has been left on the channel so far, and I try to get back to every single one of you that leaves a comment. And I do appreciate the attention that you guys get, so, or give, and I try to return that attention to you. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching this episode, and I will see you again later this week.